follow me. Watch your step.
Hey folks, welcome to the Coachhouse, everybody. We've got here tonight with Kingston Trio. Opening our show tonight, folks, kindly welcome to our stage, Michael Ubaldini.
Hey everybody, this is Jed Wilson, and you got Blast TV at the Coachhouse, man. I am so fortunate to be with my buddy here. Now, I say, once in a while I'll say it's my buddy, but this is really my buddy.
Right, yeah, definitely.
Okay, I know his name, but what's your name and what do you do?
Michael Ubaldini, singer-songwriter. That's me.
Michael Ubaldini, singer-songwriter, and where did I hear it? The what's about the poet, rock and roll poet?
Rock and roll poet, yeah, because I have a poetry book, a book of like short stories, lyrics, stuff like that. So the press started calling me that, and then the fans, they used to argue, like, is he a rock and roller or is he a poet? So then I just used it for the website. I thought, that'd be a cool name.
Yeah, so we're kind of stoked right now. Believe it or not, sometimes I interview people after they go on. Michael Ubaldini is about to go on stage, and we're back here in this, what do they call this, a green room backstage?
Graffiti room.
In the graffiti room, man. You pan around to some beautiful people right here. We are here in the backstage, man, and I'm so fortunate to be up here. The house is packed, and you'll see, if you stay tuned, you'll see him play live at the Coachhouse tonight, man, in about, what, 15 minutes, right?
Yeah, about 15 minutes, yeah.
So tell me your story, man. Just go ahead. Tell me your story about you and how you got into music and what's going on.
Well, music, I started playing guitar at 7. My dad showed me some Hank Williams songs and a Ray Charles song. He wasn't really a musician type, but he liked to just play for fun.
I had no clue.
Yeah.
I had no clue.
So he showed me the C and G7 because it was an easy change, you know. So
maybe one day you can show me that one.
Yeah. So that's where I started, and then I was like kind of a weird kid because I liked rock and roll, and everybody was into whatever kids are into, like little kids, you know. Right. So in elementary school, I mean, and my classmates can back me up. I knew who Howlin' Wolf was. I knew who the Rolling Stones were and people like that. So
yeah, you always knew the musicians. I mean, you knew everything. You could teach the musical theory class, man. It was awesome.
Yeah. So that's where I started. I wanted to play and write, and I was already writing little songs, but as a kid, and then I started a band in high school called the Earwigs. So that was a band for a while back in the early punk era, you know, Cuckoo's Nest gigs, Radio City. You know, remember all?
I remember that band. That was fun.
Yeah. So, but then after that, I formed a band called Mystery Train, and then that band got a record deal on EMI, and Brian Setzer played some guitar on one of my songs on that record, that particular record.
Brian Setzer from the Stray Cats.
Yeah, from the Stray Cats, and then he used to turn up at the gigs with Joe Strummer from the Clash, you know, and then Joe would be like, "I really like your band, mate," you know. But
I remember seeing pictures of you hanging out with Joe Strummer and the Clash.
Yeah, and Paul Simonon was another, because Paul was living out in L.A., and he would have little parties at his house, get-togethers, not parties, you know. And that's when he was doing that motorcycle. What was that band called? Havana 3 a.m.
Well, how many recordings have you put out roughly?
I don't know. I think I've got like
10 or 11,
10 records or something. Yeah, and I got a brand new one coming out.
What's it called?
It's called Song of Our Time.
Yeah, man. Yeah. You gotta check out Michael Ubaldini's stuff, man. It's amazing. I mean, I could get the best of Michael. I love some songs of your earlier stuff, and even the Earwigs album, man. That thing has a spark. You have it on vinyl, right?
Well, just the originals. I mean, people have been wanting me to repress it or reissue it because kids pay like $400 for that record on eBay.
How many songs are on it?
Well, it was just a single, but we did an album, and the album was ready to go, but then one of those labels, it went under. So then we never put it out. So it's never been released, but it was recorded back then, and people want it. You know, they bootleg it and stuff.
Hey, guys, if you could find it, man, that's an awesome, awesome album. And what is that one about, country or...
Which one, the country records?
No, the one about my love in my country or something.
Oh, Poem to My Country. Yeah, Poem to My Country from Acoustic Rumble.
Oh my gosh, Acoustic Rumble, one of my favorite Michael Ubaldini albums. Now let me ask you this: you've done not only Michael Ubaldini stuff, but you also have done some other stuff,
right?
Other bands and whatnot.
Yeah, like I did a band, a couple albums called Michael and the Lonesome Playboys, kind of under that moniker. And those were kind of just honky-tonk records, sort of an answer to like all the sort of watered down, country stuff that's really just sounds like pop music to me.
Well, some of the punk comes from that, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, like, yeah, if you think about like Jimmy Rogers and, Hank Williams, Hank Snow, their whole approach to the music was like the first wave of punk, I mean, punk down the line changed a lot, but that first wave, remember that first initial blast of
And like bands like Social D kind of had a rock and roll, like 3-chord background.
Yeah. Well, they kind of got into the rootsy thing later. I mean, they were but they were a little more rock and roll side of things. But they kind of got into that thing around Prison Bound, like exploring the roots of music, because I mean, we were already doing that stuff. There was a time when I'm not saying this to be bold or anything, but how many greasers were there in Orange County then?
Yeah.
Found none, really. It was me and Johnny Ray Bartell, who played for Jimmy and the Mustangs, right?
Yeah. Now you played Cuckoo's Nest, right?
Oh, yeah, a bunch of times.
What about the Golden Bear?
Golden Bear? Yeah. We were the last band to ever play there.
The last band, man, before they tore down Golden Bear, downtown Huntington Beach.
Yeah, and the cool thing there was we were going to play, and they were shutting it down, but we were still booked for the night. And then so they said, well, you could still play, and they were gutting the place. Like the backstage was all being gutted.
Tearing it apart.
Yeah, tearing it apart. We played. It was us and I think a band called the Tasers or somebody.
But did you know that there's a video out there you could get? It's Urban Struggle, and it's kind of about the Cuckoo's Nest.
I saw that. Yeah.
And there's somewhere on there. I believe someone was giving a testimony.
Oh yeah, you're in there.
Oh well, let's talk about you, man.
Yeah. Well, I remember a gig at the Nest where we were playing, and like they used to like when we play because a lot of the hardcore, there would be mostly guys there, right? Yeah. But when we played, there was kind of a mix. You'd get like even the Goody Two Shoes girls would sneak in, so it was kind of a mix. But I remember they would go Jerry Roach or Joe.
Jerry Roach owned it.
Yeah, and then I think when it became Concert Factory, Joe Yukich would go, "Oh, good, the Earwigs are playing. There'll be some girls here tonight." But there was a big fight. I remember we were playing, and this guy threw a drink on my bass player. Just threw it in his face. Because that was, getting punk was starting to get stupid to me at that point. And then, so I just walked over the guys. The stage at the Nest, I was kind of up.
Yeah.
So I accidentally walked over his fingers, And then, and then there was a big fight, and these guys started defending the band, and it was a full-blown riot. I mean, chairs and everything were flying, and pool cues, and then so then we leave. We go, we better get out of here. So we get in my truck, and all these people jump in the back of my pickup truck, and then we get pulled over, and I think that was the deal. And the cops were like, you guys aren't going anywhere. We got these guys.
I remember being in the car with you pulled over, and they were looking for some guy that was all wasted and torn apart. And here's Mike. You didn't drink a lot at that time, especially when you drove. So here's Mike gets pulled over, but it was kind of interesting.
Yeah, and then I remember the guys were walking back. The owners. I think this might have been the Concert Factory period, and he had like a rag over his head, and they were beat up, and they go, "Oh, that's not the guys, that's the Earwigs, for God's sake."
Now tell me, what are some of your early
that band was only together really for 2 years.
Yeah. What are some of your early influences that influenced the Earwigs?
Well, a lot of things
back then
I would say we were kind of a mix, because we liked 60s garage groups like the Seeds and Music Machine, people like that, but early Beatles and Hamburg, we liked that. We had that bootleg of the Hamburg Beatles, where they were
early one.
Yeah, and then so really the usuals like the Stones, Beatles, Hank Williams, and we weren't afraid to say that we liked those bands, because remember, sometimes people would admit that they liked a lot of those groups.
Remember when John Lennon died? You handed me a black thing to wrap around my arm. Me and you were at high school.
Yeah, we were walking around school with a black armband. Yeah.
And then what about current influences?
Current, I like a band called the Stripes. They have with a Y, not the White Stripes. They're called the Stripes. And then Jake Bugg's got some good songs. He's a really young guy. But there's really a few bands that are good that I kind of listen to a lot. The bands that I play with a lot, I like, local bands and things like that.
But tell me some other shows that you've done and some other places you've been. Go ahead, take the mic.
I recorded my album Empty Bottles, Broken Guitar Strings at Sun Studios in Memphis, so that was really cool.
Oh, wow. Who recorded there that was famous?
Oh, man, Howlin' Wolf, Elvis Presley, Carl Perkins, Johnny Cash.
That's pretty nice, yeah.
So that was kind of, it was like the, really kind of felt like the spirits were floating around.
What album was that again?
Empty Bottles and Broken Guitar Strings. you know, and then I did the England. I played England a few times because I sold out of records in England. But then just for myself, I went and did the whole Liverpool. I played the Cavern and
Nice.
and then I drank at the Grapes because it was still the real bar that the Beatles hung out at. It was the same building, and then the old timers would tell you the stories, you know.
Yeah. Now I'm gonna kind of get kind of like deep here. Isn't it true that you died on stage?
Yeah. Yeah.
You can laugh about it now.
Yeah. I just can laugh about it now, but yeah, it happened.
What happened What happened that night? Where were you? What year was it?
It was 2015.
Okay, and what happened? Do you remember?
Yeah. Well, I was just I was born with a bad heart valve, and then they had to replace it, but they hadn't done it yet, and I just got dizzy on stage, and just the next thing I knew, I thought that I just fainted or something. I was on the stretcher, right, getting wheeled out of there, and then I thought, oh man, I fainted in front of all these people. You know, it was so hot in there. Yeah. So then I was like, oh my God, how embarrassed! I can't be cool now.
I heard from testimony that you got shocked twice to come back to life.
Well, yeah, and two of my friends who I didn't really know were into medical saved my life on stage.
Respiratory therapist was there doing CPR on you.
Yeah, he did CPR, and good name for a band.
You kissed your friend.
Oh, I know. I was teasing him after that, going, "Hey, man, if you wanted to kiss me, just."
How you doing now?
I'm doing good, man.
How's the heart?
Well, you know, I wish it was like everybody else's, but yeah, it's doing good.
It's doing good.
It's just you're born with it, you know.
So what was the King of Swing? You get a bad heart?
Did he? Benny Goodman?
No. The other King of Swing. When the clock strikes.
Bobby Darin.
Bobby Darin, yeah, but now we got modern medicine to help you out.
Yeah, he was like before they had, you know, the heart valves were metal or something. They didn't last very long then.
They were like old pickup trucks.
Yeah, and then he messed up because he wouldn't. When you go to the dentist, you'd have to take antibiotics or something. He wouldn't do it.
He wouldn't obey the doctor.
Yeah, so. But there was a guy named Billy Fury that had something too like that. There's a lot of people that have it. I would just hope I could be an inspiration for people that have had like any type of serious illness and like, look, he's up there doing it. Because I was a little kid and I remember watching Bobby Darin, you know, and going, oh wow, he's doing.
One thing I like about Mike is he's always bold enough to say what he believes in and just lets it have it. Even in high school, he wouldn't, you know, if he was into something, he would just say it. And the cameraman right now is smiling at Dean. But that's Mike, you know, he's just like, he knows what he wants. He goes after it. And he's been doing a great job with his music. I love your music. I can't wait to get the best of Michael Ubaldini. And what would you like to say to your fans out there, future fans? What's on your heart, man? What's going on?
Well, I just keep supporting the bands, the indie bands, the real indie bands, you know. And I love you coming out, and I love you buying the stuff. And just because I know you spread it around, I don't even care if you spread it around for free, you know, because it's just important that it gets out there. You know, it's got something to say, and I just hope it inspires you to start your own bands, you know.
How do you spell your last name?
Ubaldini.
Michael Ubaldini, man, on Blast TV channel. What do you guys going to say?
Well, yeah, and then a lot of people, you're talking about musicians. I do this thing called the Outlaws of Folk music series. And I do one in Long Beach. I just started every first Saturday of the month, and the first Thursday at Bogart's in Seal Beach. And I did it at Alta Coffee House for about 9 years.
What's the place in Long Beach right now called?
It's called Portfolios.
Portfolio in Long Beach, and the one in Seal Beach?
Yeah. Oh, Bogart's.
Bogart's in Seal Beach. What nights are you there?
First Thursday at Bogart's every month, and then the first Saturday of every month at Portfolios. And the cool thing was I just started it because you know how the music, you've been around, like the music thing got really weird where you'd go to an open mic or an acoustic show and people would be real pretentious, you know, like we'll sign you up, they'll put people in front of you and people would talk when the people were playing and you got 4 minutes to play, you know, that kind of thing. So then I was like, wow, I'm going to start something like it was when I was a kid. When I used to go see people singing, people go, oh, there's a guy with a guitar or a girl with a guitar. And watch.
I told you, man.
Right?
That's the way he works.
Yeah, and then I just said, you know, and people would even be cool enough to go, oh man, we're gonna smoke. Let's go outside, you know, because the singers are up there. But now it's like, you know, you will get people that are just complete idiots. That'll, you know, not at the Outlaws of Folk, but that's why I started it, because they would purposely stand in front of the singers with like their phone out, like right in front, block them, and look at themselves in the phone. And
crazy, huh?
Yeah. So that was the inspiration for that.
Yeah, I love your old school attitude, man. We're living in a time and day where everything's on your couch with the phone, man. No one hardly goes out anymore. But right now, downstairs at the Coach House, there is Yeah, I can't believe how many people packed in this house. What do you think it's sold out? It's sold out, but how many people do you think are down there?
I don't know what Coachhouse holds.
Yeah. Well, I tell you what, guys. This is Michael Ubaldini.
Yeah, everyone's here.
He's going to go on any second, so we got to cut it short. But go check him out. Actually, stay tuned. You're going to see him any second now at the Coach House live on Blast TV channel. Thanks, Mike.
Hey, thank you, man. This is great. By the way, we played Little League Baseball at one time.
Baseball. I think my first band was in the Earwigs.
Yeah.
For about a week.
There was like there was like the Rebellions and the Earwigs, right? And then we were such good friends. There was no rival competition. It was good kind of a thing. I mean, if we could have had 8 guys in one band, we would have did it.
Right on. Right on.
Yeah.
Yeah. He was so good that he would just go and go and go. We played one show with him. And I did a set, 8 songs, and then I didn't know all the Beatles songs, so we just started jamming the Beatles, and then I had to turn off my bass and fake it, and the show got really good then because I was swinging the bass around. But anyhow, this is Blast TV, Michael Ubaldini. Thanks for tuning in. Check this out.
Feeling a little more calm now because I don't want to jinx myself. You know, because the chord, I'm like planted like I've got glue on my feet. Okay, this one's called The Offended, right? Can you hear this guitar, right? I'm offended by superstition, offended by the age-old game. I find it very offensive. You don't remember my name. Sticks and stones may shatter bones. I'm offended, no words do. Everyone's easily offended, though it's got nothing to do with me or you. Oh, everyone's so easily offended. The sky is offended because the color of it is blue. The stars have been upended that the sun's come shining through. Newspapers and talk shows, 24 hours they speak. The calendar is offended, there's 7 days in a week. Oh, everyone's so easily offended. People are offended, something they never thought of before. Offended by a patch quilt or a blanket on the floor. Why are we easily offended? Do we even know who we are? Or are we all automatons driving in a motor car? Everyone's so easily offended. By the river, the streets and the sky, movie stars, religion and race, and the mountains up on high. By flags, symbols and decals, and the oak wood tree. I'm offended by the night, because I'm supposed to be. Everyone's so easily offended. I'm offended by relationships, being alive and driving cars. Offended by the past and the present, hipsters and a milkshake bar. I'm offended by every creed and every moral code. I drive away and split this place, but I'm offended by the road. Everyone's so easily offended. I'm offended by corporations, small businesses too, by all the social workers, patriotism through and through, by sex, love and marriage, and a beautiful happy home. I drive away and split this place. I'm offended by the highways I roam. Oh, yes, I am easily offended. Offended by the forest, the trees and the woods, the rich and the poor, and all their neighborhoods. Yes, I'm offended, I heard it on TV. I'm offended that I'm offended, I'm offended that I offended me. I'm so